at 5:30. Very early for my live stream. I have plans later tonight, so I wanted to get a live stream in, and this is the only time that works. I got a few things I'm going to talk about tonight. First one will be about the pond. It's pretty much empty. There's maybe 3 inches of water left. We had a cold snap last week here in Ohio. We went from like 60s down to, I think it was 38 degrees, and I lost a lot of fish. Wait, you dogs want to go outside? I'm letting the dogs out. I lost a lot of fish. I did save some fish. It was all guppies, but I went from thousands of guppies to dozens, maybe 2 dozen guppies. So lost a lot, which sucks. But to be honest, I don't want to say I'm relieved because that's not really the word, but moving thousands of guppies indoors would have been a chore. So, and also, I had a crazy day at work yesterday. I had a wheel bearing fragment basically into my face and my arm. Was kind of actually bloody. I had blood going down my arm. It was kind of cool, but sucked. Luckily, I was wearing safety glasses. But I'm going to flip you guys around to show you. I'm in the garage right now, the car garage. So here's what I got. This is this was outside. This is I think 100 or 110 gallon pond. It's tough stuff. I had a spare sheet of the greenhouse. This is greenhouse paneling. This is the do-it-yourself cheap way of making lids for tanks. This is what I had left over, so it fits most of it. And you can see the water dripping off of it. It's trying to keep the evaporation down. This is a heated pond, so there's 2 heaters in there. It's running somewhere in the 60s. Let's check to see where it's at. 64.8. It's not going to get any hotter than that. As the garage gets colder, that temperature will probably go down. But as long as it stays in the upper 50s or low 60s, everything will be okay. And I know it's going to be impossible to try seeing here, but we'll see if you can see fish, right? You see guppies. But there's definitely guppies in here. What I did was I had 2 50-watt heaters, spare used ones sitting around, so I put them in here just to get this water temperature warm, or at least warmer than 38 degrees that these fish were outside in. Oh, you can see them all over here now. Will they come up? I don't know if they'll come up, but anyways, this is just to hold them over winter, so I didn't have to set up another tank inside the house, do anything like that. But 2 50-watt heaters, so 100-watt total. It's heating this 110-gallon pond to 65 degrees. Granted, the garage isn't that cold. Let's actually 62 degrees. So it's keeping it a little bit warmer than ambient. If I want to make it more efficient, I could try to seal off more of this, but this will work. Once we get into like February when it's really cold, I'll probably have to add another 100 watts of heat, but that won't be a big deal. This works for now. All right, so I just want to catch you guys up on the pond. So the pond currently has 4 inches of water in it. This weekend, I worked last weekend. This weekend, I'll be draining the pond out completely. Going from there and trying to break it down. Come on, girls. Fish room. Nothing really new in the fish room. Auto feeders are doing their thing on all the tanks. Everybody's doing good. Inside the house, nothing new in here either. Now that I have the guppy pond in the garage, I'm probably going to move. There's a 10-gallon tank right there. Tequila Sunrise guppies, they're going to go out there. They're just going to go from the 10-gallon to the 110-gallon. This tank, this is like the 25-gallon-ish. I forget the exact size, 25 or 29. It's a Fluval, like, I don't know the series. It has 9 Amano shrimp. I tried to count them yesterday. I think I got 9 is what I counted to. That's all that's in that tank. So those Amano shrimp are going to find a new home probably in the plywood pond with the other shrimp. There's like red cherry shrimp in there. So they'll probably move there because I still want to get rid of that tank. I'll put you guys in the holder. Hopefully the audio is working because I didn't do an audio check. Let's see here. Am I crooked? I look crooked. Can't be crooked. All right. And I got coffee tonight because it's going to be a late night. So I got some coffee. Hopefully that, I don't know, perks me up. It's been a weird week at work with the, so I got sliced my nose, and then at the same time, it doesn't look like much. You won't be able to see it. This right here was like a hole. It's the tiniest little mark. It was bleeding a lot. I had those like big gauze bandages, and I had changed it out like 3 times yesterday. But it's scabbed over, so it's good. I did take a magnet to try to see if there was metal in my arm, and it looks like it punctured but didn't go into my arm somewhere. But anyways, let me get in the chat, see what's going on. Metalheads, Mr. Metalhead was here first, and he said early bird today. Yep, it is an early stream today. Jupiter One's here, says early, I wasn't ready. Yeah, I figure most people are probably going to be catching this on the replay. I didn't want to, I put off last weekend's live stream, and I was going to do it on Saturday. Friday I was at work late. I had a side job, a BMW I was working on, and I worked on it really late, and then I worked on it like all day Saturday. Sunday I just was trying to chill, basically. Another semi-busy weekend, so I don't want to put off another Friday and then not get to it on Saturday. And I got Havana in my lap. So I figured might as well go early than not go at all. So hopefully if you're watching this on the replay, thanks for watching the replay. Mike said 100 watt is plenty for a 110, just add a circulation pump and keep covered. Yep, that's pretty much what's in there right now is 110. The circulation pump, I have a box filter running aeration. If I get it fully covered, then that would help with it. I am doing a video, so I recorded setting up the pond because in case somebody wants to set up a pond in the garage, you shouldn't set it directly on concrete, so it's sitting on foam. I mentioned that. I showed draining the pond down, and then the realization that there weren't thousands of fish in there like there were a month ago. So I went from thousands of guppies to maybe 20-ish. It was crazy, and it all happened in, I'm guessing over the last few weeks. I kind of talk about it because there's not thousands of dead fish in the pond. There's like a few dozen, so they've been slowly disappearing. So I don't know if the temperature's just getting lower and lower. They finally, were slowing down enough to where maybe all the small ones weren't eating and then they died. Or maybe there was a parasite in the water. I don't know. It could be, I did find a piece of asphalt shingle from getting my roof replaced. A little piece must have fell in there. I don't know if that was toxic. I don't know. But I know that when it hit 38 degrees, I knew for sure I had to get them out. And there was a lot of fresh bodies that day. So I'm assuming the 38 degrees really was the final point of them not doing good. But I did save some. Or I saved all the ones that were left, basically. So now they're inside. I'm trying to think what else. So the heaters. I was reading, I got wholesale email from the wholesaler saying about a new heater that came on the market. It's Aqua L. It's a Cobalt Aquatics heater. It's just rebranded and repackaged, but it's the exact same heater. It's the Ultra. It's kind of a plastic housing. It's whatever. But I'm like, I remember something back in the day about Cobalt Aquatics had a run of bad heaters. So I was Google searching, and it seemed like in 2014 they had an issue with some of their heaters, breaking or not working or sticking, whatever the issue was. But they had issues in 2014. Anyways, it led me to some forums, and people were talking about their heaters that stuck on, and they found their fish tank at like 96 degrees or whatever. And the one guy said he had problems that, like, he had the heater for 2.5 years, and that's when he had a problem. And then, some people were saying they replace their heater once a year. they count that as a maintenance item, and it's not worth losing your full fish tank. A lot of it was saltwater people, so people that have thousands and thousands of dollars into corals were replacing their heaters once a year no matter what. And then I saw a couple comments where it was something that I would say. One guy said that heaters can fail after 10 years or after 1 month. Like, there's kind of no rhyme or reason. Heaters are kind of a wear item. They turn on and off, and they eventually wear out. It's a hot coil. It's a wire coil that you're shorting electricity through to generate heat. That's how the coil works. Eventually it wears out. It's just like a light bulb, the old school light bulb, not LED light bulbs, old school light bulbs. Eventually they just fail because they wear out. The biggest thing I stress about heating in your tanks, never go for the wattage that you need way undersized. So the pond right now is maintaining what I need it to maintain. I might need to add another 50 to 100 watts come February. Once it gets really cold, my garage is not insulated, so the garage will get down into the 40s. If I'm trying to maintain like high 50s, like 58 to 68 degrees for the guppies over winter, I'm undersizing. So I got 250 watts. Now, I did have those spare, and it was just something easy I could toss in there. But I have a whole case of Eheim 100s I could put in there. The reason I undersize, I rather use a ton of small ones than one or two big ones. If that 50 watt fails and gets stuck on 100% duty cycle, it will never cook it will never cook that pond. The two that are in there are the Tetra, like, I don't know what they're called. It's like the perfect temps where they're supposed to be preset to 78. Well, they can't hit 78 right now, so they're running 100% time, 100% duty cycle all the time now. Anyways, they're always on. If I had a 100-watt heater, so let's say I need 200 watts of heat for that pond, I could just buy a 200-watt heater or even a 300-watt heater, and 300-watt won't cycle as much, or maybe it will not take as long to heat up. The biggest thing is, if you undersize and you have that, you could have a failure of glass breaking. There's nothing you can do about that. But the failure of it staying on and cooking your fish is impossible if you undersize your heater. So the 50 watts by itself, even if it's on 100%, can never cook that pond because it's not enough wattage to heat the pond. If it was a 300 watt heater and it's stuck on, it could definitely cook that pond. So I'm basically I'm taking a possible failure and making it not an option. So if it fails on, it won't overheat the pond, because that second heater, that other 50 watt, if the first one, let's say it's way too powerful and it's heating higher, that second one's just not going to turn on because it's already reached its temperature. So then you're relying on one heater to heat it. I got to figure a way to like explain this like super easy for like new people, because I'm sure most of you guys understand what I'm trying to say. But I want to do a video on like, I don't know, like an old school Bill Nye the Science Guy video, like that's super fun to watch and understand what I'm trying to say, because I think the biggest problem is somebody searches like, oh, I have a 110 gallon pond, I need a 400 watt heater. Well, sure, that 400 watt heater would definitely heat that pond, but what happens if that 400 watt heater stays on 24/7, like it fails on? You would definitely cook your fish. I've seen some big fish tanks. I don't know who it was. Somebody had a 125 gallon fish tank with Oscars, and they came home. The Oscars were floating, the water was milky, and they were cooked. And I don't know how hot it got, but it got pretty hot. Mystery Snail Guardians, good to see ya. Chevy Fish, good to see ya. Let me see where else I am. Texas Fish Room, good to see you. I saw that you uploaded a video. I'll be honest, I think your video is pretty much the only one I've seen in the last like 2 months of any channels. I did see a Metalheads video. I just haven't been on YouTube watching videos. I saw Ohio Fish Rescue posted a video about a new camera, and that piqued my interest about a new camera. I'm into cameras. So I watched it, and it was Big Rich talking about he wanted everybody's opinions on if the camera was better quality, if whatever, and I didn't comment or anything, but to me, like when I'm watching a video on my cell phone, I can't tell the difference in quality. If he was already uploading in 4K, so on my iPhone, I couldn't notice the difference between his handheld Sony he just bought and normally his iPhone, or not his iPhone, but his Android. So I don't know. For I think how they do videos, every single day, and then the quick editing. Maybe personally, I would think it'd be better to use a cell phone because it'd be easier to edit. So he did mention that he has to take the video from the camera and put it on his computer, edit it there, and then go from there. But yeah, I see Texas Fish Room said, where'd it go? It was cleaner on my big TV. Yeah, I haven't watched it on my big TV, so that's a good point. I should watch it on there to see if it's better. Yeah, I know on my phone, like, because the phone resolution is so compact that it's not that huge of a difference. But watching on TV would be probably the way to check. Fish says, remember to slow down on feeding when the water gets too cold, so the fish don't, so the food doesn't remain undigested in their stomach or rots on the bottom of the tank. Yep. So I'm feeding the pond every 2 days, and maybe every 3 days. So I brought them in. I don't even know what today is. Today's Friday. I brought them in last week. Was it last week? This past week and this past 2 weeks have been crazy. I think it was last week I brought them in. And I've probably been feeding them every 2 or 3 days once. Like, I don't feed them multiple times a day, so they're getting fed pretty light. They seem to be pretty active, even at the 60 degrees. That's where it's kind of like, if it gets out in the 50s, I know it helps slow them down a little bit, so I'm cool with that, but I would like to keep them in the upper 50s. Metalhead said, I went back to using my phone to record and produce better resolution and easier to produce, no waiting, upload clips to the computer, and so on. Yeah, so when I first started my channel, I bought all sorts of gear. Like, I got a shotgun mic, I bought a GoPro, actually it's sitting right here. So this was the top of the line GoPro at the time, so it's a Hero 7 Black. And they're on like Hero 10 now, I think. Like, I bought this. Hero 8 came out shortly after, but it wasn't much of a difference. And like, it seemed like 2 months after Hero 8 came out, Hero 9 came out, or GoPro 9. Like, I feel like they skipped over 8 really quick, but I thought the last thing I saw they're on 10. And I know they do, like, I don't know what they're up to now, 6K resolution. I do 4K videos now just because, you guys. I don't even have a 4K TV, to be honest. The highest resolution screen I have in my whole house is my computer monitor. It's a 2K monitor. My TV in my bedroom is standard definition. It's not even high def because I've had that TV since high school. So I don't know how long that's been now. 15 years. It's 15 years old. And then my 55-inch TV out in the family room is not a smart TV, and I think it's like 1080p. It's definitely not 4K. It's not even 2K. I think it's just 1080p. But it looks good to me. So like I wouldn't mind having a smart TV, but I just use my Xbox out there to do YouTube or Hulu or anything like that. I don't have cable, so it's basically Xbox for everything. But yeah, so I started with GoPro, and I had the microphone and all these gizmos and gadgets for it. Different lighting. I bought the microphone adapter because for GoPros, like to run the shotgun mic, I had to buy this GoPro accessory, and then I bought all the mounts for it. And I used it for a while, and it does good video. It really does, but it was too much of a pain. Charging the little batteries up. I have is it in here? Yeah. I bought like this little like multi-pack battery, so it charges 3 batteries at once. Like I bought all the crap. I think probably one of the last videos I did was at OFR when I took the GoPro into the predator pond. That was probably one of the last times I can remember using it for the channel. So yeah. Mike says the biggest advice on heaters is everyone uses a bigger heater than what their tank requires. An air stone under a heater helps circulate the heat. I base heaters kind of off the 1 watt per gallon. Yeah, so that's a pretty good way to go. 1 watt per gallon. I think it depends on, most situations, the houses, people are keeping their house temperatures in the 60s or 70s. And that would be plenty. Like, the only exception would be, like, for me, like, being out in the garage, that's going to be 40 degrees in the winter. It is going to require more heat, and then also it depends on the tank. Like, I'm in a rubber pond versus, like, if it was an insulated cooler, something that's going to hold heat better. All those come into play, but yeah, I don't think I use 50 watts. I'm pretty sure pretty much all my tanks are 50 watt heaters. The only ones I know for sure not 50 watts is this 55, because running this at 84 degrees, I think it has a 200 watt heater. Yeah, so that has a 200 watt heater. It's a 55 gallon set to 84. The 75 gallon has two heaters in it. I think one's a 200 watt and one's a 100 watt. I could be wrong. It could be 200 watts. It was my first real fish tank here, so I probably bought more than I needed, but I'm pretty sure they're probably 200 watts. And those heaters are, oh my gosh, how old are those heaters? At least 5 years old now, so they might not even work. I'm not really sure. Luckily, the fish that are in there would be just fine. With the exception, maybe the kissing gourami would not be so happy if it got colder, but the goldfish would be super happy. The giant danios seem to do fine when it's a little bit cooler. I don't know if they're not necessarily a cold water fish, but they do fine with the lower temperatures. I haven't had any issues. The red eye monk tetras, I had 3. I'm down to 1. The last one's he's looking kind of old. Very lethargic over the last 6 months. Just kind of hangs out. Maybe he's sad that he's the last one, but he kind of just hangs out by the filter and doesn't really swim around. When the food hits the tank, he becomes active, but other than that, he just kind of sits there. I think he's kind of sad that he's by himself. The giant danios are a blast to watch. I really like those fish. All those fish are rescue fish in some way or another. None of those fish I bought. They were either from Ohio Fish Rescue, from a guy at work that had goldfish but wasn't a fish hobbyist, and then another guy that moved locally from here to California. That's where the kissing gourami came from. But yeah, so that tank I don't enjoy the hardscape. It was originally set up for electric blue Acara. So it's not planted. There's one live plant in there. I think I put that in there, and it was the only one that survived the Acaras. And I had polar blue convicts. It was the only plant that survived those. But I would really love to redo that tank and make it a planted tank and enjoy it as a display tank. Right now, it's got algae all over the back, which I don't mind on the back glass, because it's kind of the older old tank syndrome, the dark brown algae. It's very hard to scrape off the glass, but it's kind of blacking out the background to where you can't see the external canister return and feed hoses. So I'm kind of using how you almost tinting your back glass or putting a sheet of vinyl over the back. The algae's flat, colored enough that's kind of what it looks like. There are mystery snails in there now to try to cut down on some of the algae, because it does sit in front of my front door, so it gets sunlight in the second half of the day. So algae does like to grow in that tank. But I would love to redo it as a planted tank. And I would even still keep the giant Danios because they're fun. They're super active. They swim nonstop. They remind me a lot of rainbow fish as far as their behavior with their active swimming. Their body shape reminds me a lot of rainbow fish. And their aggressiveness for feeding reminds me of rainbow fish. It's like it's like the poor man's rainbow fish because they're so cheap. And the pattern on them is really cool too. Like they're not colorful. They're not like Parkinsonite rainbows that are super bright orange, but they do have a pattern to them. I really like them. I could see them like in a longer tank, like if it was a 6 foot long tank, or even like an 8 foot long tank, to where they can really go up and down the tank a lot. They would look cool, probably like 12 of them together. I think I have somewhere around 8. I don't remember the exact number, but we'll say 8 to 10 in there. But yeah. Melmon says the new camera at OFR is awesome. I think I'm caught up to the bottom of the chat. All right, so I'm trying to think what else. If there's anything new going on around here. There's really nothing new. Just staying busy with the car stuff. I guess I can talk about the business side of things. No real updates as far as logistics on anything for you guys. The last update I had was the aquariums. Aqueon is no longer making, I think they said it was like the 90 and 150 or something like that, the bigger tanks. And then like any big tanks that they are making, they're only going to be using black silicone. So nothing crazy there. I'm not sure the update on the frozen food jam that they're having. So I expect that's going to be it's happening now. We won't see the effects for a few months. Like in a few months, maybe it might be hard to get frozen fish food. I can't think of anything else. Car-wise, it's still hit or miss on parts. Right now, we're going through a coolant shortage. It's getting harder for us to get engine coolant, which is crazy because all of the cars need coolant. And it's not, I don't want you guys to freak out, it's Audi's specific coolant. It's like this pink color. A lot of manufacturers have specific coolant. I think GM's like an orange color, BMW's a blue color, Audi's pink, Volkswagen's pink. But anyways, they are specific formulas. If you think all coolants are the same, they're not. Our coolants, especially our new coolant, we actually have to flush the systems on these newer cars are running 48 volts. They're kind of a mild hybrid system. It's like the car's not a hybrid, but they're using high voltage components, like steering racks and the alternators are all high voltage now. It's more efficient, so they're trying to get more fuel economy. So they're calling them these mild hybrids. And there's a separate car battery that's 48 volts. And these people, a lot of these customers aren't knowing, like, they're buying these cars that are technically considered a mild hybrid. They're running 48 volt systems now. Well, that alternator or whatever components on that system that has coolant going to it, the higher voltage is somehow degrading the coolant quicker. So now there's a flush that we've never had flushes as a maintenance item. The coolant's been lifelong. You'll have to top it off. Like coolant it doesn't stay 100% topped off over the life of the car. You'll have to top it off, especially if you have a leak. But this now has a service interval where we have to change it because it degrades. But anyways, I'm not trying to get all crazy car talk, but I'm just saying we're having problems getting coolant. I heard batteries are going to be an issue this year. Winter's here, so make sure you guys keep your batteries charged. But winter's like the worst time for batteries because that's when the batteries fail on the cars. Like 80% of the batteries that fail are in the winter months because it's harder on the batteries because of the cold. So now that they're predicting a shortage on batteries and it's during like the peak months, like that's going to suck. So hopefully they get that fixed. I keep hearing about frozen fish food being harder to get. Still have a stockpile in the freezer. Trying to decide if I need to buy more. Decisions. I have, I don't even know, 30 packs of frozen fish food in my freezer. Probably at least 30 packs. So I have quite a bit. So the best thing I can say about that, since you say you have a stockpile, is I don't know how often where you get it from. I don't know if you get it from like Petco, PetSmart, a mom and pop shop, or if you buy it online. If you buy it locally and someplace you go to maybe once a month, I know a lot of people have pets like dogs or cats, and they go to like let's say Petco or PetSmart or Pet Supplies Plus. They go there once a month for dog food or dog treats. While you're there for the dog, check the frozen foods and see if it's starting to look like, hey, that one's completely out of stock. Because typically, all those main chain stores, their products are automatically reordered. So when the system sees there's a set defined value, like they're supposed to always have 5 frozen bloodworms. When it hits 5, it automatically reorders. So if you're seeing them empty, that means they probably just can't get them. Maybe they had a sale or something and they got cleared out. But they should be either automatically reordered or that store manager went through and did his weekly order. But I would just keep an eye on it when you're not even there for fish food. And if you start seeing it, it might be like, hey, let me grab some while I'm here. First, fish food or frozen food, the shelf life is forever. It's like frozen and it's in a sealed like blister container. You can hold on to that for like I would say years. I don't know if they have the normal 2-year shelf life like pretty much any medication or regular food, but 2 years. I would have no problem using 2-year-old food that's frozen. IHSB's here. Wow, I missed most of the stream. You go early today. Maybe it's just my working late. Nope, I went early. I went live at 5:30 tonight because I have plans tonight, and I didn't want to like push it off until tomorrow, and then like me get busy tomorrow. So I was like, you know what? I'll just go early, and whoever's here live can watch it, and then other people can watch the replay. I just wanted to get the live stream in tonight. Stale fish. Do you know where to get Red River Garnet sand that isn't abrasive? So I'm going to Google that because I don't know what that is. Garnet Blast Media. That isn't abrasive. So it's a blast media, so it's supposed to be abrasive. So obviously for fish, you'd just get a finer one without going too fine. Because I learned my lesson on the black sand from Tractor Supply Company. The fine stuff was horrible. It was like a dust. Don't get that. Garnet abrasive, 55 pounds, 120 grit. So I'm trying to think 120 grit on sandpaper is probably still too much. I guess I would have to feel it in my hand to know, like, hey, that's like too abrasive or not. American Abrasive Supply. £55 for $43. How much does it cost to ship a 55-pound bag of sand, though? Probably $30. Unless they like have spend $100 and you get free shipping, and I bet they would hate their lives when you buy 2 bags of sand and like something small for $100 and they have to ship 110 pounds to you. They would definitely lose money. Anyways, 80 grit. 80 grit would definitely be way too coarse. That's for sure. 100 grit. They're the highest. The highest they have, at least on this website, is 120 grit. I would be curious to see what that felt like because I know that's aggressive on sandpaper, but I don't know. I would have to feel it, to be honest. I think it would probably be borderline. But maybe they had like 240 or something. Garnet sand is a mineral and iron-free product. So that means it should be inert. Many customers use it for cleaning building exteriors. Okay. Let me see what the chat is up to. Bearded Fish Keeper, good to see you. I haven't seen you in a while. Hope everything's going good for you. Don't want to get it sucked into my FX6. Yeah, so I have a video about cleaning the sand out of the canister filter on this 55. The fine blasting sand, the fine is, there's like fine, medium, and coarse or whatever. The fine blasting media sand from Tractor Supply was a powder. It made a mess. Well, most of all the powder's gone though. So I'm finally at the point, which I've had this tank for probably over a year now, that when the plecos zoom across the sand, it doesn't cloud the whole tank. So I finally got all the powder out, but it was horrible. I know my buddy Mike uses the medium, and it does fine. He said, yeah, there's no problems. This stuff was a nightmare. Don't use the fine. I don't want it to be abrasive because Bashir's having their bellies on it. Yeah. It's one of those things where I would have to feel it. Like if I had it in my hand, I could tell you like this is going to be too abrasive or not. It'd be cool if they sold like a 1 pound pack, something that was like $2 or $4 that you could buy it and then like get your hands on it and see what it was like. But sounds like nightmare. It was horrible. It got to the point where I was using the Python to try to suck the sand out of the tank, and it was terrible. So yeah, go ahead and close that. As far as my business, like I said, it's been a while now. I'm not reordering products, so whatever's on the website is the only thing that's left. Some of the products, as far as like plants, I need to go through and do like an inventory update. I'm sure there's probably some plants that say out of stock that I might have growing somewhere in one of the tanks. But other than that, I am going to be, shutting down the business once everything kind of dissipates as far as products. As far as fish, I'll probably keep the Vienna guppies going, and we'll see what happens to the fish room. Part of me wants to keep the fish room going, but the other part of me says get rid of all the tanks. So that way, if I sell the house, I can, not have to worry about moving a ton of tanks and all that stuff. I still go through these spurts where I really want to build a 2,000 gallon or bigger fish tank out in the garage. So I don't know. It's just motivation for that, but that's another thing that I don't want to build and then end up moving. The whole moving thing is just, it's a roller coaster. I keep finding a couple houses that meet criterias, but it just sucks because my house, granted it's been 7 years now, but my house was remodeled 7 years ago. So everything's, well, it's now not new, but everything was new 7 years ago. So everything's updated. All the doors, lights, cabinets, flooring, everything's updated. So I'm finding these houses that are twice as expensive as this house because the market's so hot, but they're not updated. Like I feel like I'm going from driving an Audi to driving a Yaris or something. I'm trying to think of like a low end, like not as luxury car. Like you know what I mean. So not that my house is overly nice, but it's comfortable. I don't know the words. It's nice to me. And some of these houses, like, they're 1970s were the last time they were remodeled, so they have like, I saw this one where the outside of the house, I'm like, yeah, it looks like a nice house. It's on 3 acres of land, 2-car attached garage. It had like a 5-car detached garage. I'm like, heck yeah. And then the bathrooms were like the tealish blue sinks, with like also blue tiles in the shower. The kitchen had green everything, like green tile and green wallpaper. That's the other thing. A couple of houses, the whole house was nothing but wallpaper. I'm like, that would be a nightmare because I'm pretty sure you can't just paint over wallpaper. I thought you had to remove wallpaper before you can paint. So dealing with that because I'm sure you had to get like one of those steam guns that can like loosen up the adhesive. Like it sounds horrible. Wood paneling, like I'm not a big fan of like the 4x8 sheets of wood paneling that they used to stick on walls. I don't like that look. I'm not opposed to wood as far as like a cabin, how they have like real wood, but the wood paneling I'm not a fan of. I think it's just outdated. A lot of houses have that around where I was looking. So it was kind of a bummer, like spending more money on a house that's not as nice. So some things I can totally remodel. I just realized Charlotte's in the middle of everything, but some things I can remodel. If the house has 2 bathrooms, I can remodel one bathroom while I can still use the other. But it'd be nice to be able to just get into a house that didn't need to be remodeled. But we'll see. HSP says you can paint over it, but it's very obvious what you did. Yeah. Yeah. So why even move? Just add on to your current home. So I can't add on to where I'm at. So I'm in the middle of a city. I'm on a corner lot. I can't add on. The biggest downside to my house is there's no basement. So storage is a limitation. So the current fish room was like a storage room. So that storage room is now in my 3rd bedroom. I would prefer. I'm not even looking for like really a bigger house. Like my square footage here is fine. I just want a house that has a basement. So either a big fish room or I can put all my stuff down there. But something that's not on a corner in the middle of the city. And I would prefer like an acre, to be honest. Be able to ride 4-wheelers or do whatever. So I would like to be a little bit bigger. I'm not sure what size my lot is right now. Maybe a quarter of an acre, something like that. Like it's not very big. So, but the problem I'm having is that anything within like reasonable drive to work is stupid expensive. To get something in my price range is going to be like a hour drive to work. Now, it'd be like one thing like, oh, to drive an hour to work with a house that you really like, maybe, but I have a 5-minute drive to work right now. So that's going to be tough. Going from 5 minutes to an hour. And the way I look at it, it's not just an hour. It's an hour one way. So that's 2 hours a day. That's 10 hours a week of just driving. That just sounds crappy. So it's tough. Apparently the red brownish sand brings out high contrast markings in the Bashirs. Okay. I've never had one, so I'm learning something new there. Get you a 10K or 15K prefab metal shed in any size you want. See, that's why I want land. So, like, hey, buy a house that has an acre. Be like, okay. Because you can buy I think it's 16 feet by 40 foot pre-made. Basically, it's a shed. 16 feet by 40. Like, that's big. And they're like $12,000. Fully assembled, they come out, they level it, set it down. Boom, there's a fish room. Like, but I couldn't do that here. The biggest shed I can have here is the one I currently have, which is 8x10. And it needs replaced. But yeah, I'm in the middle of the city, so there's nothing I can do. I can't make my house go up or out. But Lady Metalhead, good to see ya. And they got the 200-gallon cube up and filled this week. Mr. Metalhead sent me a video of it. So cool to see that. I don't know if they got any further than that, but that corner lot is awkward. Yeah, so my front door's on one street, my driveway's on the other street. So yeah. Here we can have a 12x10. Yeah, I think the maximum size I can have, I think that it's based off square footage. and I forget what the square footage is now that I think about it. But yeah, I just want to be like out of the city, and where it doesn't matter. Like you put up a pole barn, good for you. Like technically, even out in like you should go through the county and get a permit, but no one's going to stop you. Right here, like I'm smack in the middle of a suburb. Like if I tried to put up a pole barn, they wouldn't know. Not that I could because of land, but yeah. He's working on installing the sump now. Super sweet. I have a 6x6, but it needs replaced. I have a 10x12 slab, but it's not stable enough for a structure. Going to attempt a tub outside on it next year. Yeah, that'd be sweet. So I have I think it's 10x8. I think it's 10 foot wide by 8 feet deep shed. And it's one of those, I forget what it's called, like a gambrel, if that's how you say it, shed. So like it's got 4 feet uprights, and then the roof does like this number where, like after 4 feet, it starts curving in like a barn. But the problem is like it's the worst design for a shed because you only have 4 feet of usable space. Because after that, the roof starts coming in. Like it's tall in the center, but the sheds I was looking at that at least had that style, they started 6 feet off the ground. So the sidewalls went up 6 feet, and then they started their curve in, which was way more usable. But I don't know how old my shed is. I don't know if it's 20 years old. It's just rotting, falling apart. I had a raccoon in it 2 years ago. So Havana was trying to get into the shed, so she chewed a bunch of the wood off of it, like the trim. Yeah, it's just... Yeah. Uncle Steve's Neighborhood Garage says, howdy, y'all. Good to see you, Steve. It's an early Friday night live stream, which will be ending here pretty shortly. Got some plans. So that's why I'm going live early, but... Yeah. So, I have a... I need a new shed, but I also want to relocate it. I want to move it from where it's at now. It's kind of like right in the middle of the length of my backyard is really small. Like if you guys seen the pond videos, you see my pond, you can see my fence. There's I don't know, maybe 3 feet of yard right there from the fence to the pond. And then at the end of the yard is my shed. Well, that shed wasn't there. I'd actually have a yard to where you could play like cornhole or throw a football. And on the side of the house, which is where my boat is right now, that's where I want to move the shed because it's like out of sight, out of mind, like more backyard for activities. So I want to sell the boat, get that out of the way, and then build another. I was going to buy a shed, but pricing for wood's so crazy that all the companies that are making them kind of went up. They do have some plastic pre-made sheds. I can't get my mind set on a plastic shed. I don't know. Everything in the back of my head says no to a plastic shed. I want like a wood structure or a metal structure. I remember my grandma had a metal shed. It lasted forever. But I remember the doors were always real hard to get open. Like it's a sliding metal door. It was always a pain. I don't know if like dirt and stuff was getting in the tracks, but I always remember that being hard to open. But I do have a bunch of 2x4s here. So I'm thinking of just making my own. I think it'd be kind of fun to build a shed from scratch. But yeah. So IHSP, I'm terrible about the member codes. So IHSP said November member code. What she's talking about, if you're a member of the channel, you get 15% off on the website just for being a member. And I change that every month. And she's asking what the member code is because that means she wants to place an order. So let me get a member code up. What should the member code be? I'm not going to tell you on the live stream because then anybody could use it. You gotta be a member. Okay, let's look and see what last discount code was called. Mickey, good to see you. Did I miss you coming in? I did miss you coming in. I would watch a tank tour video from your house, Steven. Not sure I know what you've got in your tanks these days. I guess I could do an update video. I'm trying to thin out all the tanks really, just to break them down and get less tanks in here. But I could do an updated video. I got some orange laser quarries or gold lasers. They look, I guess they're orange. Orange lasers. They were supposed to be green lasers, what I bought them as, but they're orange laser quarries. The glow light tetras. I had a ton of Pilatus quarries, salt and peppers, but somebody bought a bunch like a week or two ago, so I'm not sure how many's left in that tank. Plecos, chocolate plecos, super red plecos, guppies. I'll just have to do a video. I'm sitting here trying to name them all off. 2x4s, 2x6 corrugated tin sealer, and a bit of roll roofing. Bada bing, bada boom, new shed. Yeah, so I have a ton of 2x4s. So what I don't know if you guys can hear the dogs. They're going crazy at somebody. I have a ton of 2x4s. So what I want to do is break down that first rack system, which I've been meaning to do. I just don't want to deal with moving that shrimp tank because it's looking good. So I don't want to mess with it. But if I break down that first rack system, I'll have all the cinder blocks. What I want to do is use the cinder blocks to set those up, level them, run 2x6 stringers, and then build off of that and make it, 2x4 deck, plywood, build up. But I want to repurpose the cinder blocks I use on the rack system as part of the shed. All right. Copy. Sorry guys, I'm just trying to get this member discount code done before I forget, because I'm terrible at remembering. Save discount. Okay, I'll make a post to the members right now. Let me see what's going on in the chat. Ray Aquatics, good to see you. Make sure you guys can't see my screen. See the discount codes only for the members. All right, IHSP, the discount code is posted to the members. So you'll be able to see that whenever. All right. Cool. Rue849, where are the likes on the video? Good evening. Good evening, Rue. Good to see you. How did you do that? IHSP says, getting so close to my 12-month milestone. I don't know how you did that. How'd you do that? How did it show your membership time? Nice choice. I just had to make something up, to be honest, and it was the first thing I thought of. All right, I think we're caught up. Coming up to the hour mark. Okay, anybody have questions before we wrap this up? It's an option under Super Chat. I did not know that. It's like Twitch's resubscribe feature. You can announce it to the chat. I did not know you could do that. I'm not a member of my own channel. Maybe I should be my own member so that way I can see that stuff. That's cool. I didn't know you could do that. That's literally the first time I've seen that. Oh, there's competition. Metalheads have been members for 14 months. So they got IHSP beat right now with 4 months. Ray said, "Do you still have those brilliant pluckos?" Yep, they are behind me. Don't have any babies. I sold the babies, but I have all the adults still. Just looking like maybe in case there was a baby. The babies, I never know when they come. I just randomly find them weeks later. But yeah. Oh, I thought I broke my chat, but we're good. I didn't know you could do that either. Yep, that's first time I've seen it ever. I'll have to try it on. I'm trying to think. I don't even know who's a member. I'm a member of Aquarium Co-op. I think OFR and probably Flip Aquatics. I'll try it on Flip's live stream. He does a live stream every Wednesday. I haven't caught it in a couple weeks, but next one I'll try to remember to do that. Kind of cool. We're Aquarium Co-ops, whatever it is. All right. I think this is a good time to wrap up the live stream. I'll message about them. I reckon they're not for sale anymore. Are you still moving? I have no idea I'm moving. I want to move. But I just think right now it's a struggle trying to find a house that's fits my criteria, I guess. But I am closing down most of the stuff. I have a guy. If you're talking about the adults, about me selling the adults, I don't know about that. There's a guy locally that wanted this breeding group. I just basically beat him to it. I told him that if I ever sold him, I would contact him, so I would have to contact him first, just because I told him I would. If he doesn't want them, then I could post them for sale, but we'll see. They were a large investment, so I don't really want to give them up yet, because I really like them. It's a new feature for about 2 months. Yeah, just not on YouTube enough to, I guess, notice these things. But, alright guys, well, I'm going to go get ready for tonight. Thanks for hanging out with me early tonight. I honestly, I like this stream time better. I like being able to stream right after work versus like coming home from work, relaxing, and then either being too tired or 8 or 9 o'clock is like when everybody starts doing things on the weekend. I would prefer to do it at 5:30, but we'll see what happens. Glad I made space for your indoor pond. Yeah, so where that pond is where that 200-gallon tank was sitting. So we could say that Metalheads saved all those guppies from freezing to death outside by buying that fish tank. But anyways, guys, thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next week. I don't know what time. Who knows? But I'll see you next time. And I don't know how I'm going to finish the pond video, but I'll try to finish it out in some kind of creative, educational way, I guess. I don't know. But we'll see. All right. How do I end this? Okay. See you guys.